You'll never understand technology, Samantha. My brother Eric's voice dripped with condescension as he lounged in our father's executive chair at Sullivan Tech. Making pretty websites for your college friends doesn't make you a real developer. I stood in front of the massive mahogany desk, my MIT acceptance letter clutched in my hand. I come straight here after receiving it, excited to share the news with my family. Instead, I got another dose of their perpetual dismissal. I got into the computer science program, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, on a full scholarship. MIT. My father looked up from his phone, frowning. What happened to Stanford Business School? We've already made arrangements. I don't want to do business administration. I cut in. I want to build software. Real software, not just the pretty websites Eric talks about. Eric snorted. Dad, she doesn't understand. Sullivan Tech needs business leaders, not coders. We can hire programmers from India for that. The casual racism made me wince, but it was typical of how my brother viewed technology. To him, coding was beneath the Sullivan family. We were supposed to be executives, making deals and playing golf, while lesser people did the actual work. Samantha, my father sighed, using his patient but disappointed voice. Your brother is right. You're a Sullivan. We don't write code, we run companies. End of discussion. I looked between them, my father's CEO of Sullivan Tech, and Eric, the golden boy heir apparent, neither of whom could write a line of code to save their lives. They ran a technology company based entirely on acquisitions and outsourcing, proudly ignorant of how their own products actually worked. Fine, I said quietly. I'll go to Stanford Business School. Like you want. They both smiled, satisfied at having won. Neither noticed my crossed fingers behind my back, or the determination in my eyes. 2 months later, I was setting up my dorm room at MIT. I turned down Stanford and the trust fund that came with it, choosing instead to pursue my passion. My mother had cried, my father had raged, and Eric had laughed, certain I would fail and come crawling back. You're making a huge mistake, my father had warned. Don't expect any support from us. I didn't. I had my scholarship, a part-time job at a local tech startup, and most importantly, I had a plan. That first year at MIT opened my eyes to possibilities my family couldn't imagine. While Sullivan Tech churned out mediocre enterprise software cobbled together from overseas contractors, I was learning about artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the future of cloud computing. My roommate, Lali Chen, became my best friend and eventual business partner. She was brilliant at systems architecture, while I excelled at AI algorithms. Together, we started working on something revolutionary during our spare time. What if we could create an operating system that learns? I proposed one night, surrounded by empty coffee cups and whiteboards filled with code. Not just basic machine learning, but true adaptive intelligence that optimizes itself in real time. Lily's eyes lit up. An OS that evolves with each user, understanding their needs before they do. We called it Neuralos. Every free moment went into development. We lived on ramen noodles and caffeine, coding until dawn, then dragging ourselves to classes, but it was working. Our prototype could analyze usage patterns and adapt its entire architecture to optimize performance. Meanwhile, Sullivan Tech was struggling. Their outdated enterprise software was losing market share to more innovative competitors. Eric, now COO, gave interviews about revolutionary updates that were really just surface-level changes to decade-old code. During my junior year, Lily and I entered a major tech competition with an early version of Neuralos. We won first place, catching the attention of several venture capital firms. The prize money meant we could finally incorporate our company, Nexus Computing. That's when my family finally noticed what I was doing. A startup. Eric's voice was incredulous over the phone. Have you lost your mind? Come back to Sullivan Tech. We'll give you a nice executive position, maybe head of innovation or something. Head of innovation? I laughed. You don't even know what I've built. Some kind of operating system, right? Dad says it's probably just a Linux fork with a fancy interface. Stop playing around and come work for a real company." I hung up on him. By graduation, Nexus Computing had secured $10 million in seed funding. Lily and I hired a small team of brilliant developers, all focused on perfecting NeuraLOS. We worked in secret, protected by military-grade NDAs. One day, browsing Sullivan Tech's public GitHub repositories, I discovered something interesting. Their core enterprise software was so badly architected that it was vulnerable to complete system failure. One bug could bring down their entire client network. I reported the vulnerability anonymously through proper channels. They ignored it. Should we tell them directly? Lily asked when I showed her the code. I shook my head. They wouldn't listen, but we can do something better. NeuraLOS was nearly ready for launch. Its adaptive architecture could run any existing software while continuously optimizing and securing it, including theoretically Sullivan Tech's vulnerable enterprise systems. We approached their clients first, not the executives, but the actual departments struggling with Sullivan Tech's buggy software. We offered them NeuraLOS as a solution, a new operating system that could run their existing applications while making them faster, more secure, and self-optimizing. The response was overwhelming. Company after company signed up for our beta program. None of them told Sullivan Tech they were running their software on NeuraLOS. Why would they? It just worked better. Then came the day I'd been waiting for. Sullivan Tech announced a major system upgrade for their enterprise clients. The update contained changes that should have broken compatibility with any standard operating system. But nothing broke. Their software kept running smoothly on NeuraLOS, which adapted automatically to the changes. Their clients didn't even notice the update. How is this possible? Eric demanded in an emergency board meeting, which I watched via a leaked video stream. Our monitoring shows all systems running normally, but these specs don't make sense. The performance metrics are impossible. My father, now executive chairman, looked equally baffled. Get our development team to figure it out. So, the lead architect spoke up nervously. We've tried. Whatever's happening is beyond our understanding. It's like the software is evolving on its own. I smiled, watching her confusion. Sullivan Tech's entire business now ran on my technology, and they didn't even know it. That evening, I received an email from a familiar address, my father's executive assistant. Emergency meeting requested with Sullivan Tech Board. Subject: unknown technology integration. Your presence is required. I showed it to Lily, who grinned. Ready to show your family what real technology looks like. I thought about all the times they dismissed me, underestimated me, told me I'd never understand technology. Not yet, I replied. First, let's make them admit they're the ones who don't understand. I typed a response. Ms. Chen, CEO of Nexus Computing, will attend via video conference. They still didn't know that Ms. Chen was me, but they were about to learn just how much their former business princess understood about technology. The meeting was scheduled for tomorrow morning. I spent the night reviewing NeuraLOS's performance data across Sullivan Tech's network. The numbers were staggering. 300% efficiency improvement, 0 security breaches, and adaptation patterns that exceeded our most optimistic projections. My family had never believed I could create something meaningful. They were about to discover that their entire business now depended on my innovation. I was just getting started. The Sullivan Tech boardroom looked exactly as I remembered it through my video feed. Pretentious oil paintings, leather chairs, and men in expensive suits pretending to understand technology. Only now, I wasn't the dismissed daughter standing before them. I was the CEO they desperately needed to meet. My father sat at the head of the table, looking older than I remembered. Eric paced nervously behind him. Their entire development team huddled at the far end, laptops open, frantically trying to understand how their software was running better than they designed it. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Chen. My father began formally, unaware he was addressing his daughter. We've asked to hear because our monitoring systems show that most of our enterprise clients are running our software on your Neurolos platform. All of your clients actually, I corrected, using a slight accent in my voice. Not most. Eric stopped pacing. What? That's impossible. We haven't authorized any OS changes. I allowed myself a small smile, but they couldn't see it through my darkened video feed. Your authorization wasn't required. Your clients made the choice themselves. Neurolos is an open platform. This is corporate espionage, Eric declared. You've hijacked our software. On the contrary, I replied calmly, we've saved it. Would you like to see the vulnerability reports your team ignored? The ones showing how your entire network could be compromised with a single exploit? My father's face darkened. How did you get those internal reports? They weren't internal. They were submitted through proper security channels. You ignored them. I pulled up the documentation. Just like you ignore anything that challenges your assumptions about technology. The lead architect spoke up. She's right, sir. These vulnerabilities are real. But somehow, Neurolos is protecting against them automatically. It's like nothing I've ever seen. I began sharing my screen, showing the Neurolos in action, the adaptive algorithms, the self-healing architecture, the evolutionary patterns that made their software run better than its original design. This is beyond our current development capabilities, the architect admitted. Years beyond. Eric slammed his hand on the table. Then how did this startup figure it out? Who are you really, Ms. Chen? Would you believe MIT computer science? I asked mildly. My father stiffened. Something in my voice must have triggered a memory. Our clients are impressed with the performance improvements, I continued. They're asking why Sullivan Tech never developed this technology internally. Why a company that claims to be a tech leader needs a third-party OS to make its software work properly. What do you want? My father asked quietly. Money? A partnership? First, I want you to admit something. Admit that you don't understand the technology your company is built on. Admit that you've been coasting on acquisitions and outsourcing while real innovation passed you by. The room fell silent. My father's face flushed with anger, but the truth of my words hummed heavy in the air. Who are you to demand? Eric started, but I cut him off. I'm someone who actually understands technology, unlike a certain family that thinks coding is beneath them. My father's eyes widened. The accent had slipped in my anger, revealing my real voice. Samantha. I turned on my video feed, letting them see me clearly. The boardroom erupted in chaos. Hello, Dad. Still think I'll never understand technology? Eric collapsed into a chair, his face ashen. This is a joke. It has to be. Your entire enterprise network running on my operating system. No joke. I smiled. Though I have to admit, watching you try to figure it out has been entertaining. Why? My father asked. Why not just tell us? Would you have listened? You never listened before. Not when I wanted to learn coding, not when I chose MIT, not when I tried to warn you about your security flaws. The lead architect was staring at his screen in awe. The adaptation algorithms, they're incredible. Our software is running at efficiency levels we thought were theoretically impossible. That's what happens when you let real developers innovate, I said, instead of treating them like replaceable resources. My father stood slowly. Name your price. Whatever you want for Neurolos. We'll acquire Nexus Computing, make you CTO. No, I cut him off. I'm not selling, and I'm not coming back to be your token tech expert. Then why reveal yourself now? Eric demanded. Why not stay hidden? Because it's time for some changes at Sullivan Tech. Real changes. I laid out my terms. Sullivan Tech would become a Nexus Computing client, licensing our technology like everyone else. They would restructure their development practices, treating their engineers with respect instead of outsourcing everything. And most importantly, they would acknowledge publicly that their improved performance came from Neurolos. "This is blackmail," Eric protested. "This is business," I corrected. "Your entire client base runs on my OS. They love it. If you try to force them off it, they'll leave you instead." My father was silent for a long moment, studying me through the video feed. Finally he nodded. "The board will need to approve." "The board will approve," I interrupted, "because they understand what you don't. Sullivan Tech needs Neuralos more than we need you." Over the next few months, everything changed. Sullivan Tech's stock soared when they announced their partnership with Nexus Computing. Their clients, already thrilled with Neuralos, became even more committed, and their developers, finally given real respect and resources, began innovating again. Eric left the company, unable to handle the new reality where his little sister was the tech genius he pretended to be. He started a venture capital firm, though I made sure every startup he approached knew about his views on developers. My father stayed on as chairman, but his role became more ceremonial. He stopped pretending to understand the technology and focused on what he did best: business relationships. 1 year after the boardroom revelation, I sat in my office at Nexus Computing's headquarters, reviewing the latest Neuralos performance metrics. Sullivan Tech software was now just one of hundreds of enterprise systems running on our platform. A message popped up from Lily. "Your father's here." I found him waiting in our lobby, looking uncomfortable among the casual developers and modern decor. "Quite different from Sullivan Tech," he observed as I led him to my office. "That's the point. We build technology here and don't just talk about it." He nodded, taking in the whiteboards covered in code and the developers collaborating in open workspaces. "I was wrong," he said finally, "about everything. The way we ran Sullivan Tech, the way we treated developers, the way I treated you." "Yes," I agreed. "You were. Can you ever forgive me?" I thought about the scared but determined girl who defied her family to follow her passion, who'd worked through endless nights, learning and building while they mocked her choices. "I don't need your forgiveness," I said. "I need you to understand something. Technology isn't just about buying and selling companies. It's about creation, innovation, solving real problems. That's why I tried to tell you all those years ago." He looked at a nearby whiteboard, covered in AI algorithms he couldn't begin to comprehend. "I understand that now. Too late, probably." "It's never too late to learn," I said. "Want to see how Neuralos really works?" His eyes lit up with genuine interest for the first time I could remember. That evening, after walking my father through a basic coding tutorial at his request, I found an old photo in my desk. Teenage me at my first coding competition, proudly showing off my project while my family stood bored in the background. I sent the photo to Eric with a short message: "Still think pretty websites are beneath us." He didn't respond, but his venture capital firm quietly began focusing on female-founded tech startups. Lily appeared in my doorway with champagne, celebrating something. "The future," I said, looking out at our growing team, and everyone who said we'd never understand it. Neuralos continued to evolve, becoming the standard for enterprise computing. Sullivan Tech, under new technical leadership, became one of our strongest partners. And my father, to everyone's surprise, started taking programming classes. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's building something so revolutionary that they have no choice but to admit they were wrong all along. And as I watched Neuralos adapt and grow, protecting and optimizing the digital world in ways my family had once dismissed as impossible, I knew we'd done exactly that.